Hello students. In our previous class, we have discussed points of distinction between coercion and undue influence. Today we are going to talk about fraud. So what is fraud? Fraud means a person makes a statement in order to deceive someone else or in order to induce that person to enter into contract. Section 17 of Indian Contract Act deals with fraud. As per Section 17, what does it mean by fraud? So, acts which are committed by a person with an intention to deceive another person. So here we have underlined this word intention to deceive. These words intention to deceive means in order that that act is considered as fraud, it is very necessary that the person who has done it, he must have done it intentionally. He has an intention to deceive, to cheat the other person. What is fraud? Fraud is intentional, deliberate, or willful misstatement of facts. So, the person who is making a fraud, he is doing it intentionally. He knows that what he is doing. He is purposely doing that. And willful, he knows that what he is telling is wrong. It is not correct. But he is telling that misstatement of facts. About those things which are material for the formation of contract. So it is the false statement made by a party to a contract with an intention to deceive the other party or to induce such party to enter into a contract. So a person is making deliberate, intention, willful misstatement about what? About those facts which are very important for the formation of contract. These false statements or this false statement which is made, it should be made by a party to a contract and to the person who is another party to the contract. Why it is made? It is made with an intention to deceive, with an intention to cheat that person, or in order to induce that person to enter into a contract. What are the essential elements of fraud? The first essential element is the fraudulent act must be committed with an intention to deceive. So these words intention to deceive, these are very important. So if there is no intention to deceive, we cannot call it as a fraud. So in order to call it as a fraud, it is very necessary that the person who is making a statement, he must have an intention to deceive, to cheat the other person to the contract. The fraudulent act must be committed with knowledge of its falsity. So the person who is doing that act or who is making a statement, he very well knows that what he is telling is wrong thing. If he does not know it, then we cannot call it as a fraud. Means, say for example, one person says that I want to sell my horse to you for 10,000 rupees. And he says that my horse is perfectly fine. It is sound. While making this statement, he very well knows that his horse is not sound, it is unsound. So, purposefully he is making that wrong statement. He knows that what he is telling is wrong, it is false. He is telling. Why he is telling? In order to deceive the other party to the contract or in order to induce that other party to enter into contract or agreement. So, the statement which is made intentional with an intention to deceive, the statement is made with the knowledge of its falsity. The fraudulent act must have been committed by a party to the contract. So the fraudulent act, the statement which is made by the person, it should be made by a person who is a party to the contract. If it is made by a person who is stranger to the contract, it is not fraud. We cannot call that there is an element of fraud was present there and the contract should be voidable. No. Then the fraudulent act must have been committed upon a party to the contract. So that fraudulent act must have been committed upon a party to the contract. That means it should be committed by a party to the contract upon a party to the contract. If it is committed on a stranger, then we cannot call it as a fraud. The person will not be able to avoid the contract. Contract will not be voidable. So it should be made by a person who is a party to the contract upon a person who is a party to the contract. The fraudulent act must have actually deceived the other party. So the other party must have heard about the statement, and because of that statement he must have entered into contract or agreement. That is necessary, that he should have actually deceived. Only if the statement is made and person has not entered into contract, he has not been cheated, not deceived, it is not a fraud. The person says that my horse is perfectly fine, my horse is sound, and I want to sell my horse to you for 10,000 rupees. The other person believes in whatever been told by him. The person who is telling, he knows that horse is not sound, horse is of unsound mind, and in spite of that he says that. The person who is listening to that statement, he believes and he purchases the horse. Afterwards he realizes that the horse is not sound, so it is a fraud. So he's actually suffered because of he is deceived because of that wrong statement which is made by the owner of the horse, and he is actually deceived. That is necessary. So what are the things which are necessary for formation of necessary for that we should call it as a fraud? The first thing, there should be an intention to deceive. Second is, so fraudulent act must be done with the knowledge of its falsity. Fraudulent act must have been committed by a party to the contract upon a party to the contract, and the person must have actually deceived because of that statement or because of that fraud. So these are the essentials of fraud. So this question, if it is asked, it is altogether full question about free consent is asked for 15 marks. So if we write this much, that is sufficient. We need not to discuss all these points in detail or the case studies which are based on these points. We need not to deal it in detail with all these points. So here we are just taking the main points. So usually coercion and undue influence on those case studies are asked. So we have discussed those points in detail. Otherwise, how a question is asked on this point, define free consent or what is free consent and what are the elements which affect free consent. So altogether 15 marks question you have to write on this point, free consent. Now the next thing because of which the contract becomes voidable, that is misrepresentation. Now what is misrepresentation? So there is a slight difference between fraud and misrepresentation. What is the difference between fraud and misrepresentation? One thing which we have seen, that whenever a contract or the consent to a contract is given because of coercion, undue influence, fraud and misrepresentation, contract will be voidable at the option of the party whose consent is so caused. Now what is the difference between fraud and misrepresentation? So what is representation? So before thinking about misrepresentation, discussing about misrepresentation, we will just discuss about representation. Now what is representation? So representation means a statement of fact made by one party to the other party. Why this statement of fact is made by one party to the other party? In order to induce the other party to enter into the contract. So representation means, so whenever one person, two people enter into contract or agreement, they have to represent certain things. They have to make statement of facts. One person is making a statement to other person. Why? In order to induce that person to enter into contract or agreement. Now representation means statement of fact. Now what is misrepresentation? Misrepresentation means innocent misstatement of facts which are material for the formation of the contract. Now representation, statement of fact made by one party to the other party to induce that party to enter into contract or agreement. Misrepresentation means it is a misstatement of facts, wrong statement of facts, but it is innocent misstatement. So here is the basic difference between fraud and misrepresentation. Misrepresentation is innocent misstatement of facts. Fraud is intentional misstatement of facts. Regarding which things? Regarding those things which are very important, very material for the formation of the contract. Misrepresentation means it is a false representation which is made innocently. Innocently means without any intention to deceive the other party. That means the person who is making a statement, he himself believes in the truth of that statement. He does not know what he is telling is false or not true. He thinks that what he is telling is true, but it is not true. So misrepresentation is a false representation which is made innocently without any intention to deceive the other party. When a false representation is made by a person, it may be either, if it is innocently, unintentionally made, that is, without any intention of deceiving the party, then it is called as misrepresentation. And if a statement is intentional or willful or a deliberate statement, that is, it is made with an intention to deceive the other person, then it is called as a fraud. So innocent, unintentional statement without any intention to deceive, misrepresentation. Intentional, willful, deliberate statement with an intention to deceive, it is fraud. Now here, what point we have already got facts of the case which we have already discussed. One person A intends to sell his horse to B. He says that my horse is perfectly sound. So he is making a representation. He is telling about statement of facts. He is telling some facts. Why he is making this statement? In order to induce the other person to enter into contract or agreement. So he wants to sell his horse to B. He says that my horse is perfectly sound. He is making a statement of fact. A genuinely believes that the horse is sound. A himself thinks that his horse is really perfectly sound, so he is making a statement. Although he does not know that the horse has fallen ill yesterday. So yesterday a horse had fallen ill and horse was not keeping well, was not perfectly sound. He himself does not know that. B thereupon buys the horse. He purchases the horse. So there is a misrepresentation on the part of A. So here we can say that A has done a misrepresentation, but we cannot call it as a fraud. When we would have been able to call it as a fraud, so when he himself does not believe in the statement, he knows that horse had fallen ill yesterday. In spite of that, if he makes a statement that horse is perfectly sound, then in this case we can call it as a fraud. So this is the difference between fraud and misrepresentation. Now what are the essentials of misrepresentation? First thing is, the representation must be about fact. So he is making a statement about a fact. It must be made before entering into contract. So he is making a statement of facts regarding which are very important for the formation of the contract, and this statement must be made before entering into contract. If the statement is made after entering into contract, then we cannot call it as a misrepresentation. Then the contract will not be voidable at the option of the party who has suffered a loss because of misrepresentation. The representation must be made without any intention to deceive the other party. And the representation must have induced the other party to enter into the contract. So there is no intention to deceive, and because of that statement, representation which is made about the facts, the person must have induced the other party to enter into the contract. So these are the essentials of misrepresentation. In next class, we'll discuss about mistake. Thank you.